Hey guys, Jengar here. Welcome to today's realistic review in which we are taking a look at the British Seafire LF Mk.III, sitting at 5.0 battle rating. Now, lovely looking plane. I definitely wanted to have a plane today that was a little bit different than the disaster that was yesterday's S199 in the Israeli tree. I wanted to fly something normal, and I saw two new Seafires in there, one in the French line and one in the British line. Seems like they are pretty much the same plane, probably copy paste, but of course when you are reviewing a Seafire it has to be a British one, right? Well, I decided to fly this plane out and have a look in at this Seafire. The Seafires in the past have always been a little bit of a mixed bag for me, as the Seafire performance compared to its normal Spitfire counterpart was always a bit too heavy for me, for it to make the Seafire versions worth flying and basically have a reason like, okay, I want to fly this plane, but I'm not disqualifying myself. That kind of stuff. And I heard from several of my squadron mates that there have been some changes in some of the Seafire to make them a little bit more competitive and give people a reason to fly them, maybe because they like the skin and not immediately disqualifying themselves. So yeah, this Seafire does feel good. I mean, I'm not exactly sure what it compares to. It's an LF Mk.III, and we don't have a Spitfire LF Mk.III in the game. It looks and feels kind of similar to the Mark 9, the Spitfire LF Mark 9, but I'm not 100% sure whether that's the case, and I'm not a guy that's gonna research that immediately as well, especially not with a new patch. I don't have a lot of time to fly this plane out, and I didn't get them spaded this time, so I have to spade them as well. Bloody hell. Gaijin, don't do that anymore. Give me spaded planes, please, so I can make quick reviews, right? That's what we want. But yeah, so we were flying this thing. I spaded it, and I've got some very decent performance in it. Over 4-to-1 kill death ratio, almost 5-to-1. So I was quite satisfied with its performance for a Seafire, right? We still have that memory in our head that Seafires are little bit less good. So I was quite happy with the performance in this thing. The maximum speed at sea level without web is 467, and with web 516. At 4,500 meters still go up to 444 kilometers an hour without web, and 447 with, and finally at 6,500 meters you can take her up to 378 without web and 381 with. Now, these speeds are in indicated airspeed without Mach. This is not a fast plane. Spitfires have never been the fastest plane at their level, but most of them are quite competitive. This one it's okay. I wouldn't call it a super fast plane. This is always very true in a dive. Top speed in a dive in this plane is 722 before she redlines, and around 800 kilometers an hour before she rips apart. Again, this is not good. It's not fantastic at 5.0. Even the S199 that we reviewed yesterday is better in a dive. Of course, that's a frame of a later G model 109, and I mean they're slightly better in a dive than this Spitfire. So there is that, but yeah, this is not top notch, but it's all right. It's all right. Control stiffening in this Spitfire starts at 400 kilometers an hour in the roll rate in a dive, and at 500 you get a second tick in that compression. That makes it a bit worse. Really, rolling is not good anymore. After 500, 550 you really start to notice the compression. Elevator stays functional though, and I think functional up until 650, 700. You can get out of the dive without too much of a problem. Now in the vertical, the stall speed is 105 kilometers an hour. This is absolutely fantastic. This is very competitive, 105, and she is very good as an energy fighter. I've had some lovely moments in there, and yeah, it's good. The firepower in the plane, this was always a problem in the past for Spitfires. We have the Hispanos, right? Hisparcos is their nickname. That is for a reason, because many of the rounds, especially the SAPI rounds, sparked a lot, and you got a frustrating moments there with sparks and you hitting a plane but not getting any of the outcome that you want, which is a destroyed plane or at least damaged. And well, the Hispanos have been improved. They seem to be more efficient, and you do get now the outcome that you want, which is the dead planes. So I'm quite happy with the new Hispanos that we have now. This plane runs with two 20mm Hispano Mark IIs with 120 rounds per gun, and that is supported by four 7.7mm Browning machine guns with 350 rounds per gun. Now that's alright. That ammo load for the cannons is decent, right? It's not terribly good. It's Soviet-like, which also have limited ammo on their 20mm and upwards. So there's no surprise there. I flew a lot of Soviets lately because I was doing the rank reviews. So I got used to having lower ammo counts, but these guns also jam pretty quickly, especially if you run the initial version of it, the unupgraded versions. You need modifications on the guns to have them jam a little bit later, because that was an annoyance I found while spading this plane. But anyway, the ammo loads on the 7.7s is alright, so decent to good, I would say. There is no bombs and no rockets or anything on this plane when it comes to ground ordnance, bombs and stuff like that. It's just not there. So this is a pure fighter and purely a plane to protect the fleet. Although, of course, you will not be protecting the fleet a lot of the time, but you will be flying over land, of course. We know there's not many sea maps out there. Performance in this plane is quite good, quite satisfactory. Acceleration in a straight line is very good. She really picks up speed nicely, and in a dive is great. Many of the Spitfires have great performance in a dive. There is very little drag on these planes, and they're just beautifully made. They just dive very, very nicely. Energy retention in the horizontal is good, and in the vertical is great. With the war emergency power, you have great performance in the vertical, great as an energy fighter, this plane. And that is where I really like to use it. Of course, you can also turn fight. It is a Spitfire, and it is really a Spitfire capable of turning. But the problem with Spitfires when it comes to that, the added performance of the flaps is always reduced, because on pretty much all the Spitfires you have a crazy rip speed for the flaps, which lies, for this one, lies around 270 kilometers an hour. And 270 kilometers an hour is easily reached and maintained in this plane because of the acceleration, because of the engine power. It is just, you are running 270 pretty much all of the time, and it's difficult to get below that. You really have to slow to the absolute minimum in the top of a loop, or, you know, it is just very difficult to not be at 270 and rip your flaps off. So the flap usage in this plane is very limited, and thus also the turn time, because the turn time is good in this plane, but with flaps it's very good, but you can barely use the flap, so it's just good. It's a good turn fighter. It's alright. But if you face some of the 109s who can use their flaps way more leniently than you can, you sometimes have troubles out-turning them, while in potential you are the superior turn fighter. But, oh well, anyway. Climb rate is great in this plane. With web, climbing is an easy proposition. You do have to watch the overheating a little bit. With a lot of web usage, you will overheat it. It's definitely present with web usage in the vertical, but it's manageable. It does cool down reasonably well, and you just have to put it on 95 for a little bit and it cools down. It doesn't cool down fantastically like some planes. If you put it on without whip, it cools down very quickly. But this one, you can easily manage the overheating in this plane. That's not an issue. Now, so turn time good to very good. Flap thingy is 270. It's absolutely atrocious, I would say. The flap rip speed is just terrible. But yeah, this is what it is in the Spitfires. From the earliest Spitfires to the later Spitfires, it is the same story. Roll rate in this plane is good, especially between 250 and 400 kilometers an hour. Really, roll rate is a little bit less before 250, and it becomes stiffened up after 400 with compression. So yeah, the best window for the roll rate in this plane is between 250 and 400. So overall maneuverability in this plane is good. It is very nice to fly, and you feel very much in control. You just have to be careful with flap use, there is that. And in the long end of the dive, you don't want to lose any wings or something like that. Overheating in the plane is present. As I said, I already talked about overheating. I'm getting old here, old geezer. Durability is good. It can take a hit or two. It is Spitfires always like them when it comes to damage. They seem to be handling damage on the wings as well pretty good. I mean, especially if it's a little bit balanced, but seems to be alright handling the damage this plane. Repair costs is 6,532 Silver Lions. For a 5.0 plane, that's very good. Of course, there is a few planes that have lower SL, planes that nobody wants to fly. Gaijin often uses repair costs, as we know, for balancing planes out. I don't like that. Shouldn't be that way. So yeah, repair cost is good. There is that. That is awesome. Now the way to fly this plane is definitely turn fighting and energy fighting, with a concentration on the energy fighting, because just really good there with web in the vertical. It's just awesome. I would use it as an energy fighter first, and then transition into turn fighting when you need to. But the enjoyment in the vertical, as you saw, that Focke-Wulf 190 just thought he could easily escape me and get the hell out of there, but he was sadly mistaken. It was not to be, because this thing is very good in the vertical. Even while shooting, well, he should have the advantage. I could get him, and that's always a good thing. Now it's nice to be the maneuverability the plane has, because you can go into turn fights and stuff like that, into maneuver fights with multiple opponents and come out on top. Doesn't always work, as you will see in this confrontation. This thing can also sometimes you can get yourself into a flat spin, and if you have some damage in there, it's not always easy to get out, especially if you don't exactly remember how you got yourself into the flat spin, because you often need to counter exactly what you did to get out of that flat spin. But almost had this guy here, but god damn it, I mean, I'm shooting with 20 millimeters, right? If that would have been a kill, I could have taken on the next guy that's incoming a little bit more easily, and may have well turned this fight around, where I had like 6 or 7 opponents left at this point, which of course normally you don't want to get them all at once, but when you get those nice shots on target, here I get into my flat spin, but when you get those, that Mk.III, snap of the fingers, and little bit different. Was that a Sparko from one of the shells? I don't know, man. But I definitely could have handled this twin Mustang in the dogfight that would come after it, if I would have shot the Mk.III. But anyway, dream on, man. It didn't happen. We got 4 kills in that first match. Not any special rewards, unfortunately. Almost 40,000 Silver Lions, 10,000 research points. I'll see you in the conclusion. Hey guys, so here we are after the match. Now this Seafire really did something for me. It's nice. I like it. The Seafire LF Mk.III is definitely worth your time. It it is so far, and I have not revisited the older Seafires yet, my favorite Seafire. It's 5.0 battle rating, performs very nicely, very close to performance to similar planes that lie around it in battle rating. So I was really happy with this plane and had a good time for the first time in this patch, because the S199 was torture. If you haven't seen that video yet, check it out on the channel. It was released yesterday. But this Seafire definitely caught my attention, and it's a nice addition to the British tree. There's also one in the French tree. I might visit it, but that has no priority because I think it's exactly the same plane as this one. So maybe at the end of all the props I might visit it, but we'll see. Guys, I hope you enjoyed the review. I want to thank you all for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye. If you're new here, make sure to hit the subscribe button, become part of this community. If you are already a subscriber, don't forget to like the video, do leave me a comment, and if you really feel like helping out today, make sure to share the video with your friends and let them know about the channel.